Hello and welcome to your favorite football talk show. It's Hoosier Gameday. I'm Callie Metzger alongside Jack Edwards. Jack, how you doing?
Very, very tired, but I'm very excited for this weekend. Two big matchups against Penn State. Men's soccer, Big Ten tournament quarterfinals this evening on Friday, and then tomorrow, obviously, 3:30 p.m.
Well, on the football side of things, IU has struggled this season, I would say. 5 straight losses. Now they face Penn State tomorrow.
It's a tough one.
It's tough. It's a tough mentality.
When they went 3-0, we were saying how many, 3 more wins for a bowl game, which would be a pretty good season by their standards. And you're kind of saying this could be a week where maybe it happens. This could be a week maybe where it happens. Right. Less of those discussions this week. Penn State's a very talented football program. It'd be a big win for Indiana if they can kind of reenact the 2020 win that they had with Michael Penix. First time they're hosting Penn State since then. We'll talk about it a lot more, though, today, Callie. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Well, along with the struggles, there's something else that's been added to the pile at the beginning of this week, and Kylee Corman has more.
Thanks, Callie. Coach Tom Allen announced Monday that Indiana's top wide receiver, Cam Camper, would be out for the rest of the season. Camper suffered a torn ACL in the first half of the Rutgers game and was supposed to have surgery later this week. The junior college transfer has been a standout wide receiver since his arrival at Indiana. As one of Indiana quarterback Connor Bazelak's favorite targets, he had a total of 46 receptions for 569 yards on the season, with an average of 12.4 yards. His biggest games came in the victory over in Illinois and in Cincinnati. His absence will make it even harder for the Hoosiers to pull off a win against upcoming opponents, including number 16 Penn State and number 2 Ohio State. Without Camper, we can expect to see more from Javon Swinton, Malachi Holt-Bennett, and Donovan McCulley on the outside, as well as DJ Matthews and Emery Simmons in the slot. Also taking into account that Coach Allen has not announced who will be the starting quarterback on Saturday, we can expect to see some new favorite targets. For more on their opponents this weekend, Jack, back to you.
Thanks, Kylie. Very interesting to see how Indiana handles the loss of Cam Camper. And coming into town, a team that will make it very difficult for Indiana to handle alongside Max Parker now. Talk about the Penn State side of things, the team rolling into Bloomington. Max, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Happy Friday, Jack.
I appreciate it. Happy Friday to you as well.
Thank you.
Starting off with probably the strength of this Penn State team defensively, any individuals you're looking out for?
Yeah, start off with Joey Porter. He's really great on the outside, getting a lot of talk. It's already mock draft season. Especially after the NFL trade deadline, so that's always a fun time. And Joey Porter's getting a lot of look on the outside. They had a great defense last year. Jaquan Brisker getting drafted to the Chicago Bears. Love watching him, big Bears fan. But Joey Porter's definitely kind of the next guy in line. He's gotten a lot of looks all year. So whoever ends up being the starting quarterback for Indiana, whether that be Connor Bazelak, Jack Tuttle, Dexter Williams, it's going to be a test for them on the outside.
Quarterback dilemma for Indiana we'll touch on a bit more later on in the show. We'll talk about offensively for this Penn State team. Any guys you're looking out for as well in that department?
Yeah, especially against a really strong team in Ohio State. They had a few guys that really showed up on the receiving side of things. 10 different wide receivers caught the ball for Penn State. And so kind of at the top of that list, Parker Washington, he really exploded, 100-plus yards receiving, he had a touchdown as well. So he really performed well. That's something that the IU secondary is going to have to watch out for. Also, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, they did really well in the rushing attack for Penn State. And so kind of two different areas that Indiana has not been too strong in on really either side, rush defense and pass defense. So they're really going to have to watch out for that.
Last weekend, Ohio State beat Penn State, traveling out to them 44-31, number 2 team in the country. Now, talking about before this game, James Franklin, head coach for Penn State, refusing to name a starter. Tom Allen suggested maybe it's a bit of gamesmanship. He hasn't named a starter either. Kind of both situations kind of up in the air. For you in that department, what are you expecting to see? Could it go beyond Sean Clifford? What is that kind of your take ahead of this matchup?
I think kind of going back and forth a little bit, but if there was a time to test it out, honestly, with Indiana just all the way at the bottom on a 5-game losing streak, if you're going to do that, now would be the time to do that, to test Drew Allar, former 5-star recruit, But at the same time, he is a true freshman, and on the other side of things, you have a guy who is so experienced in Sean Clifford. And yes, he had 3 interceptions, but he also had 3 touchdowns against Ohio State. And so it's just kind of balancing out that. That's a very tough decision, going with experience, or do you want to throw the true freshman into the fire?
Yeah.
But again, against Indiana now would be the time to do it.
Definitely probably one of the better teams in the Big Ten that you could possibly play
Yeah.
a true freshman against. They have a quarterback dilemma, so does Indiana. For more on that, here's Tom Allen.
I guess we'll have to see how that plays itself out, when it comes to game day. But at the same time, every position, as I said, is up for evaluation, and that was the case. And we're just trying to find the best combination to be able to give us a spark on offense and allow our guys to be able to move the football and score points. So didn't do that in the second half. Have not done that well in the second half in several different games here recently. And so definitely need to get a different product, different output of our offense in the second half for sure. So everybody's up for evaluation, yes.
It's an interesting take there from Tom Allen regarding the quarterback question. Evan Gerike is here with me in the studio, and we'll start with that, Evan. How do you feel about the quarterback mystery going into tomorrow?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of mystery because Tom Allen loves to keep his quarterback situation quiet. As we saw week 1, he never announced the starter before he took the field against Illinois, and kind of is obviously comes out as a starter in this game. And now 8 games later, there's another question of, was he the right answer, or do we need to go with someone else? And you've got 3 guys that really are kind of in that battle, and he hasn't ruled out Connor Bazelak as someone who would start again this week. You've also got Jack Tuttle, obviously a guy we've seen before, Indiana, who came out last year in 2020 and led them to that Wisconsin win and started for them in the bowl game. Played a few games last year before sustaining injuries, and now he's here again this year, but he's transferring after the season. You've also got Dexter Williams, who missed last season with a torn ACL, but seems to be a different kind of quarterback than what Tuttle and Bazelak would provide you. The question now is where Tom Allen wants to go with that situation, and in my opinion, you go with Dexter Williams, a guy that's going to be able to use his legs a little bit more, something that we haven't seen out of an Indiana quarterback this season, just to kind of spice things up, because Tuttle is very similar to kind of Bazelak and what you get from them. And we've seen what this offense looks like with that type of quarterback, and it has been working. So I'm not sure why you wouldn't go with Dexter Williams to try to find a way to give some spark in this offense, to use a mobile quarterback to lead the pocket. And I know he has not been on the field yet for Indiana. That's a lot of pressure for a guy to make his first on-field appearance against a team like Penn State. But if you're Tom Allen, it's the decision you have to make just to try to get some new life in this team.
Well, speaking of changes, or should I say typical, here we are again. The injury bug is flooding the IU football program. Cam Camper announced his injury on Monday, his ACL tear. Obviously pretty disappointing for this program. Another problem to throw into the pile, like we said earlier. But considering the injuries, the losing streak, and the schedule ahead, is this 22 season destined for failure, or is there still hope?
Well, technically they're 3-5, which means there's 4 games left for them to win 3 and make a bowl game. Right. It is technically possible. There's very little hope left, though. I mean, you've got Penn State and Ohio State that you have to beat one of, and that's a very tall task for Indiana. They've only beat Penn State twice ever, and one was that 2020 upset with Michael Penix diving for the goal line, and he's not here anymore. So it would take a large-scale victory to knock off either of those teams, and I'm not sure it's possible to beat Ohio State with how good they are this season, which puts a lot of pressure on this Penn State game to kind of hold out some hope. You want to see this team obviously go to a bowl game. You want Indiana fans want to see them go to a bowl game every year. Just winning a couple more games at this point would be really big for Tom Allen and his program heading into next year. They've already won one more game than last year, which isn't saying a lot. But if they win one more, that means they don't have a second consecutive season with a 9-game losing streak, and that's at least something to hang your hat on. But the hope is dwindling fast for Indiana.
Well, Indiana, too, we talked about this a little bit, coming off a bye week. Bye week can be good for some, could be setback for others, but I think that, the injuries haven't plagued all of players in this program. A lot, A.J. Barner, D.J. Matthews took time to readjust, and they said earlier this week they're ready to finish with new mindset. They're excited for what's to come. In your opinion, why do you think this program is so steadfast in remaining in high spirits?
Well, a lot of it has to do with Tom Allen and his LEO mantra. That's kind of how he runs a program of high spirits, high energy. And if you see Tom Allen at a practice running around with his megaphone yelling at guys, you understand why guys buy into this program. And it goes back to 2020 again, after that Wisconsin win, when all the players are running off feeling about how Tom Allen's the best coach in the country. And even after a bad season last year, they only had, I think, one player decommit. Like, people bought into what Tom Allen is selling, and it says a lot about this program that people are still into it. Now, how long is that going to last? Obviously, the fans are kind of backing off, which is a little bit important if you want people coming in the gates and buying tickets. But Tom Allen knows what he's doing with this program, at least in terms of energy and keeping players up. And you see it kind of leak into the players when they're talking about, like, you'll ask if they're frustrated after a series of losses, and they're kind of like, yeah, but like we know that we're almost there, that we're so close to putting it all together and winning games, and it hasn't happened yet. But just the fact that they're not getting frustrated, they're not throwing their teammates under the bus, they're not ratting each other out. Right. It says a lot about their faith in what Tom Allen's vision is. And hopefully Indiana sees that kind of return to actual success on the field in the next couple of years here, because that's what Tom Allen wants from his program, and that's what he's instilled in them. So we'll just have to see if that is coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, we will see. And like you said, we do have time. And tomorrow is one of those games where we will definitely it'll be a question up in the air. But before we jump to the rest of the show, we're going to go into our predictions here. Evan, what is your prediction for the Penn State IU football game tomorrow?
I'm going to go 38-24 Indiana, and that is contingent on Dexter Williams starting. I think that's going to bring a new dynamic to this offense, and I don't think Penn State will be fully prepared for the type of offense that will be under Dexter Williams, similar to how Illinois wasn't prepared for what Indiana's offense was going to look like without knowing what the quarterback situation would be in that game. So I think Dexter Williams is going to be able to use his legs, and that's going to force Penn State to kind of spread out the field to try to cover him if he's out of the pocket, while covering the receivers, while covering the running backs. And they're going to use that to their advantage to score some more points. But overall, this team just does not have enough, healthy players, enough skill to knock off a team as good as Penn State.
I was going to say the same exact thing. My score for tomorrow is 41-17. Penn State's taking it away. And that was one of my biggest reasons for, having Penn State take this lead is just the injuries on the IU side of things. I think Penn State's strength in defensively and overall offensively is just going to overcome this IU program, but we'll see. I mean, I'm ready for a surprise if there is any. But Jack, Max, who do you got?
Well, thanks, Callie. 2 predictions for a Penn State victory. Max, Indiana or Penn State?
No, sir. Penn State. 38-16 is my prediction. The spread originally started just a half point lower at 13.5 when I saw it earlier this week. Now it's up to 14. I'm picking even more than that, 22-point differential for my prediction. I just don't think Indiana's able to keep up, especially I don't think they're going to be able to put up too many points against Penn State's defense, especially as we talked about earlier with Joey Porter and just the struggles they've had. Haven't even named a starting quarterback yet. I just think Penn State gets the edge 38-16.
Just for content purposes, I'd love to break it up, give an Indiana win, but I don't think they're going to win a game the rest of the season. So tough to predict a win in this game if I don't think they're going to win a game for the rest of the season, Max. Pretty good logic there, I think. 28-14 is where I'm going with for Penn State to take that one. 14 points on the spread. I think they hit that right on the nose. But I just want to get your take really quickly before we go.
Yeah.
Who starts for Indiana at the quarterback position?
I mean, I've gone back and forth because you know what you have in Jack Tuttle. You've gotten plenty of samples in terms of Connor Bazelak. Let's go out on a limb. I think Connor Bazelak will still be the starter. I'd like to see what Dexter Williams has.
Very interesting. Very interesting to see what happens this weekend regardless. Indiana, Penn State, 3:30 p.m. on Saturday. Make sure you follow the Hoosier Network, Max, Parker, Evan Gerike, as well as all of our coverage. Carla Brown there as well at Memorial Stadium this weekend. That does it for our show for this week. For Callie Metzger, for Evan Gerike, for Max Parker, for Kylee Corman, our producer, Lauren Booher. I've been Jack Edwards. Have a great Hoosier Game Day.